Ever wonder what our first time jamming was like? I'm Courtney.
And I'm Sean.
And this is a GM's Toolbox. Back to yet another episode of a GM's Toolbox. I'm Courtney, she, they.
And I'm Sean, they, them.
And we're going to chat about our first time jamming experiences, what we would do differently, what we wish we had known, all to help you on your journey to becoming an amazing GM. And we have a special guest with us today.
Hey everyone, my name is Matt, he, him, and I don't have a cool prop to pop. So I don't know. Oh, wait, hold on, I got some allergy medicine. So there we go. Hey, you know what? You had coffee, you had some wine. Let me pop one of these bad boys and really get myself going today, huh? It's a good idea. Down the hat. Woo, yeah. Yeah, we're in it now, gang. We're in it now.
Where are you from, Matt? How did we find you?
Yes, so I am a player on New Crits on the Block, which is a D&D podcast that's been going for a little over a year now. And I know this is a DM's, so you're thinking, hold on. You said this is a DM's podcast. Well, I can explain. I guest DM our Halloween spooktacular episodes. So technically, that's DM status right there, baby.
And it's perfect. The perfect
counts.
amount. Yeah, because we're talking about our first time jamming experiences. So, I mean, was that your first time jamming? Was recording and...
Sure was.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, exactly. So it wasn't even in like the safety confines of my closest friends behind closed doors. It was for people to listen to.
That's terrifying, honestly.
Yeah, a little terrifying.
Oh my God. I honestly, let's just get into it. What are some things that really helped you out, I guess, organizing the Halloween Spooktacular when you were trying to prep for your first session?
Honestly, listening to podcasts like this was really good. Just any sort of wealth of knowledge I could kind of tap into. And full disclosure, I am not like the most knowledgeable Dungeons and Dragons person. That's just kind of all the rules and the heavy stuff like that. That's not my kind of flavor that I like to give. But obviously you still have to run a game, so you still have to know the mechanics and everything like that. So I think finding a piece of entertainment that you enjoy that also is D&D based, I think as long as you are enjoying listening to it, you just kind of receive it almost through osmosis, if nothing else.
Oh yeah, completely.
Yeah, so like, I mean, I'm not going to like read the book, front to back.
No.
And the reason I say that is because I know there's a lot of people out there who are like, well, I can't DM because I'm not an expert on D&D.
Oh, hell no.
And you do not have to be. And that's the whole point. Like,
Absolutely not.
Guys, everyone, if I can do it, trust me, if I can do it and I can have my players have a good time, anybody can do it. So it's just having, you do need to have some knowledge of the game. So like I said, having some reading, or really just what helped me was roughly planning out my encounters and just doing the research on those encounters, because I know, as I'm sure all of you do, your players are going to do things that you do not know are going to happen. So you just got to let all that stuff kind of ride. And you want to hit those, let's say in a 2-hour session, you want to have like 4 or 5 points that you really want to make sure you hit. Research those, make sure you have hooks to each of those points to draw them in general enough to where you can pull everyone from wherever they are and run those points in a controlled space as much as you possibly can. That'll make you feel so much more comfortable about running those points because you've already sort of researched them and gotten yourself ready for them.
Yeah, totally. I've been running games for a very long time now, and I still don't think I've read the entire DMG for 5th edition. I've probably read the entire player's handbook at this point just by going through it so many different times. But the Dungeon Master's Guide, nah, absolutely not. I look up stuff in it. I own it. I look up stuff in it all the time. But read it? No. You totally do not need to know the whole game. And honestly, I don't think you should. I think that if you do, you'll get bogged down in it. And I think, just like you said, just planning those things you intend on hitting is a much more personally fun way to deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, completely. We say this where we haven't read through all the DMG and whatever. I know that our editor has.
Yes, that is true. Hi, James.
Hi, James. James has. For the longest time, I forget how many he's done so far, but like he's read through the player's handbook, the DMG, and I think even the monster manual from front to back.
Well, I've read the monster manual from front to back.
I haven't read any of them from front to back.
The nice thing about most D&D groups is that chances are you're going to have a rules lawyer in your midst somewhere who will kind of help you with that. We have one in our group, and anytime we either homebrew something or just let something fly, you'll see his phone come up at the table and you'll see him start Googling like, damn, I know that's not the right thing. I know, I get it. And he's like, well, they actually shouldn't have been able to do that technically. They actually have only 2 attacks rather than this, and their grabbing isn't actually, it's like, okay, we know, we're just going, man. Come on, give us a break. But every time, just that little peek up from the phone from the table, we're like, okay, what did we mess up? Where did we go wrong here? 'Cause he just knows. But he's good because he does help keep us on track in some respects. So they're not, they're double-edged swords. I'll say that much.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are good and there are bad rules lawyers. Ones that like won't play or like will kind of forcibly put on the rules, and there's some like James who is like an encyclopedia of knowledge when it comes down to like the rules of D&D, but is super down to just go with the flow and will like, if you ask him like, hey, this thing, does it have 2 or 3 attacks? Oh, I think it has 3. Hold on. And like help you out with that kind of stuff, or the technical stuff of like, many people don't know that when you aren't the one that moves your body out of the attack range or something, it doesn't provoke an attack of opportunity, right? But like, I didn't know that until James told me. And then I figured it out. Or if you teleport. But yeah.
But it would be so cool if it did.
Honestly, right? Like imagine that. Like you're being pulled away because you just got like hit for like almost max damage to your character, and then your friend is trying to save your life and pulling you away, but in that last moment the creature just like swings down its hammer at you. Like that's kind of cool.
Or is it? Depending on who you are in that situation, it could be cool. It could also be real bad.
It'd be real bad, but like in a good way, like storytelling.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sure. Such a DM thing. Oh, storytelling. Storytelling.
Yeah. Exactly. I killed you for the story.
For the storytelling of it, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you're crying at the table. Well, what a good story for later. Am I right?
Oh my God. I mean, sometimes when those things happen, you just need to have like a secret keeper to like tell all those secrets to, and then you no bad
a secret keeper.
Smooth.
You know what? Maybe
butter.
we should start that.
Oh, is this one of your bad transitions you warned me about?
Yes.
Oh, well, here it is. Okay. I thought I sensed a little something, but you know what? As far as transitions go, Cam, that was great. That was really good.
Honestly, they're pretty good. They're just like really corny sometimes. We'll get to it. Let's.
They always say any landing is a good landing. So, in that respect, congratulations.
Let's start that.
Stat that. Stat that.
Stat that. Doobity bop ba doo bop bow. Okay, so we got this idea of a secret keeper from fucking TikTok. I'm like mad that I like TikTok. I truly am. I'm fucking mad about it.
Why? Just because it's a new flavor, and you're like, get off my lawn, kids.
It's like I had avoided, not really like actively avoided it. It's just never put it on my phone. But my wife is like, you have to download TikTok. You have to. It's so good. And I'm like, fine, I'll do it. I did. And now I'm obsessed. Now I just like spend all my breaks in my free time, and I get messages from her and from Sean of new TikToks, and I just love it. But I also hate that I love it. Anyways. we got the idea because it's one that you sent me, Sean, of this like really tall man. And it means that walking through doorways is hard, and it means that riding in cars is hard. But the one thing that is his job is being a secret keeper. And he like in the video, it like puts this little like gold badge on his like blazer. And the whole story is like him going around town, and pedestrians will like hand them little slips of paper, and that'll be like little secrets that he keeps, and he like keeps it on the tallest ladder on the highest shelf in this little box. And I thought, wouldn't it be neat to stat a secret keeper? I don't know what it is, but I don't know. Let's see where it goes.
Oh, I said I made a joke about an Alep earlier because something moved in my little basement office thing here, but it's kind of like the anti-Alep. Or Alep, however you pronounce those.
What's an Alep?
It is in Mordenkainen's.
Oh.
It's what happens when a mind discovers some greater secret, and the creature who discovered the secret is ripped away from them, and they turn into this evil, swirling, crazy thing. Hold on.
So wait, just learning about a secret makes you this thing?
Well, I think that we're gonna go the opposite, because we're gonna
right.
this is gonna be like the vessel of secrets. The vessel of secrets. I kind of like that. That's kind of fun.
Vessel of secrets?
Yeah.
Now, can he? To me, these things sound like they fly. I don't know why they do.
I'm down for that.
I'm imagining the secret man having like be essentially the Wicked Witch of the West with like the flying monkeys with these things. Like it shows them the secrets like on purpose to turn them into these things, and then it just has this army of
oh my god, I
Aleps
kind of love it
at its disposal, right? So when someone's getting close to his secret, he could just like unleash them on people.
Okay,
I don't know.
All right, no, I love this. Let's build off of this. Okay, so now this is so like the whole TikTok is like this like delightfully like warm, this like person who like holds these secrets, and it's like very like heartwarming. I love this evil quality. So
oops. Did I do
no,
whoops?
This is exactly what stat that is. So we did one episode for coffee mimics, where the coffee in the coffee cup is a mimic, and once they drink it, they have to make a con saving throw. And it's like going. That. I know, it's fucking cool.
Or it chest bursts like in Alien.
Yeah, Alien.
Yeah. So it has like you do like, I think it's like we allowed 3 rounds, or is it 2 rounds? But every round that goes by,
the third round
is the chest burst. So so it's 2 rounds. So every round goes by, then you have a disadvantage on like attack rolls and stuff, as like something is like trying to eat its way out.
Oh,
that's that. So I love the idea of creating ellipse. How do you pronounce it?
I don't know.
Let's see.
Alep. It's page 116 of Mordenkainen's.
Alep.
Or Mordenkainen's, which is apparently the
5e Tools says Alep.
Great.
So we're doing Alep. So I love the idea of like this like all-knowing being, and having these like monkeys that are kind of flying around it, and have like these little like chests that they, to create like an Alep army, are just like releasing these secrets onto unsuspecting people and creating these like Aleps. I love that. That's so cool.
Well, I guess we just go from there then, because I too was imagining just this very stoic, tall, thin man, essentially, going about his business. But now I do like, the twist is real. I like
love that. Right. So like you can see it. I imagine now this like, creature is this, either is in disguise as a businessman, either that, or it can take on many different disguises to collect these secrets. So that's the question I want to ask. How does he collect these secrets to give to his monkeys?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I mean, I think he should be able to almost like maybe doppelganger it a bit and be able to shapeshift to best fit whatever environment or scenario he's going into, because that's his like makeup, right? Is he like need the secrets to continue existing? Like, is that
Ooh,
sort
I
of his
love that.
life force?
I love that.
To where if he has a secret for too long, it becomes like an old secret, and he needs more newer secrets, and that's sort of his driving force. Maybe is the thirst for new secrets.
I love that.
Yeah, so I think
that.
maybe something like that, where he is so driven by this, he will literally recompose his body to be able to fit into certain situations, because his lust for that is just so deep. It changes him at like a molecular level.
That is so cool.
And if I'm flying too far off the handle, guys, reel it back in, because that's kind of when I shoot off, I'm gone.
This is exactly what stat that is.
Reconstitutes. That's fucking awesome. But he has to. Is he stealing these secrets? Is he like reaching into?
That's what I was thinking about, right? So like, how does he collect them? So like, if he is changing and morphing to fit in every situation, then that means that this thing has like a crazy high charisma, or he's actually reaching in to steal things. Like, I imagine that this person, this creature is is manipulating situations to gain these secrets, because I think that if you steal them, it's like it's less power, but if you get them naturally over time, or like you gain the trust of this person, that this secret is pure.
So super high charisma then, and high wisdom, or as well, maybe both. Yeah, maybe just high intelligence, high wisdom, high and like out of the park charisma.
Yeah.
And then the physical stats, who cares, because he's everybody's best friend.
Yeah. But I think that worst comes to worst, there is a special ability or like a reaction that it has that it seals. Like in desperation, it like has the ability to like, I want to imagine it kind of like snaps its fingers, and there's like a shadow of your secret that kind of like almost, or like either that, or like Harry Potter when you take the memories out with the wand. You know what I mean? Like he carries something and like taps your temple, and like it comes out.
That's really good. I had my brain goes to darker places than that, and I thought
too.
of.
I'm about to say
you
and Sean will get along real good. I'm the one that kind of buffs the edges of this person over there.
Thank you for saving us from ourselves. I'm sure we both appreciate that. I thought of Starship Troopers personally. I don't know if you guys have seen the movie with the brain bug.
Yeah.
Where he like literally will like stab a tube into someone's head and suck their brain out to gain their knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And then you were like, oh, like Harry Potter stealing it out of the temple. I'm like, oh yeah, let's go with that. That's way better.
Classic examples of me buffing fucking edges. That's me, girl.
I think we should marry the two instead of it being an object or a tube. I think if he makes physical contact in some way, but like, you know, touches the head and his finger goes into the temple a little bit and then pulls it out.
Yeah,
like imagine
that. So,
how about this, what about his nail? Like he has kind of like longer nails.
Ooh, yeah,
so when
big nasty
so when
Coke
he like
nail.
touches your temple, you feel like almost like as if like a needle is going into your brain, and it kind of like it protrudes out. So when he's like walking around and stuff, it looks kind of like normal nails, but then as he's getting closer to you, you can see in your peripheral vision this like long nail starting to protrude, and he like pushes his finger up and then snaps, and then it like in and then pulls it out, almost as if I want to imagine that instead of like Harry Potter, because apparently that's too good at tissues. The nail like pulls, and like a red or something line goes down the finger and up his arm and into his like you can see like along his throat, like black veins that are collecting the secret up into his brain.
And his eyes change color for a second. Yeah. See, there you go. The perfect blending of the utter horror that Matt and I came up with.
Yay!
Oh, thank goodness. Thank you.
What else can this thing have?
That would be an attack though. So that would do some psychic damage, I think.
Totes.
And is it a charisma or a wisdom save?
Ooh, I would probably say wisdom save at that point, right?
I'm leaning toward whiz, yeah.
Yeah, because that's a mental fortitude kind of trying to stop someone from literally piercing into your brain.
Yeah.
That's usually a whiz save.
Or a fucking dex save because he's touching you.
Yeah, perception to see if you see a gigantic nail come out of your peripheral vision.
Just imagine, just like, ooh.
Yeah, like he's sitting there like coming at you like, oh, here it comes.
I'm gonna get you.
Oh, but then you could do some truly horrifying things where this incredibly tall, thin, like Slender Man type thing comes down and is holding you to the ground with unnatural strength, and this long nail is coming down toward your eye.
Like, well, so here's the question. Here's another question. So now we've got like this like shape shifting creature that is trying to take away secrets naturally, but will have this ability to be able to take it with force, right?
Mm-hmm.
So because this thing can shape shift, I don't necessarily want its true form to be that of just like kind of shapeless being. What are you guys imagining? Like what the true form? Is it like Slenderman-y where it's kind of like long and lengthy? Like what is this, or more smoky? Like what does it look like in its true form? Like when it's forcibly taking these secrets, I want to imagine that it's like kind of like shifting in and out of the form that it once knew versus the true form it is as it's putting its finger into your temple.
I'm seeing something old, like old and sort of almost vulture-like, kind of crooked over, but like long, elongated, not necessarily, super tall or anything, just elongated features, long fingers, and just sort of, hunched over things, looking cranky. And yeah, just something dark and long.
What are you imagining, Matt?
Yeah, that's really good. I was kind of thinking the same thing, like almost akin to, a witch a la Hansel and Gretel, who has to take life force and sense to stay young, but that's not their true form. The first thing I thought of was just sort of like almost like an anamorphous like blob, right? That just kind of like pours over itself while trying to move, almost like a slime. That needs these secrets to be able to shift into a form that could infiltrate places like this, could infiltrate places that have secrets. So it's just this, it's almost like a blob of evil or bad.
And then it starts, if it doesn't get its secrets, it'll start to melt.
Yes. And which is why he has to use those drastic measures. So where if he starts melting away, people are going to be like, hey man, what's wrong with you? And then the secrets are gone.
Dude. You look kind of funny. What's up?
You look a little melted today, Steve. You doing all right?
Like sunscreen? What's that on your chin there? I like the idea of when this creature does take away its secrets, it also gleans some of what this person has seen, and therefore can change into like that random stranger that they saw at the supermarket. Like so that way there's some familiarity with, like, you can shift in anything, but I feel like we can connect that with once it takes secrets both naturally and with force, it also takes some of its memory. Not like take for its own and now they forget the thing, but like has some of its experiences, so that way it can change into things that are far more familiar to the person.
Yeah. Does this creature like attach itself to one person for a while when it steals a secret? Does it try and get more and more of this one person's secret, or does it like fuck off to the next person?
I want to ask this: can this thing split into many versions of itself, therefore collecting more secrets?
Well, it can now. But is it many versions of itself, or is it procreating in a like weird and twisted and horrifying way?
A sea anemone?
Like a sea anemone. Although if that were the case, it wouldn't really be the secret keeper, would it? It would be.
It'd be like a secret guild.
Well, I was thinking that it was like it's the thing that Harrow. What's mother?
Oh, an oblex.
Yeah, like something sort of like an oblex where it like has the. You know what an oblex is, Matt?
No, please explain.
It's like a big blobby thingy that eats people, and then
eats
people, and then sends out this version of them to collect more people to eat. And the only reason why you know that it's a part of an oblex is if like you see this like very thin like snail trail of a line that is along the ground that connects like on their foot. And it trails back to the oblex. But I don't know. I don't know if I love that. I kind of love the idea of a singular creature, but I also think that because the secrets are fueling and keeping this thing together, some of me thinks that it learned to split itself to then gather more secrets easier.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe not.
So it makes like simulacrum of itself almost.
Yeah.
And then then it has to reconstitute to gain the benefit of the secrets.
Maybe, yeah.
I mean, I think either one is pretty terrifying because you either have this one entity that is like centuries and centuries old who has been living parasitically off of people's secrets, or you have ones that can multiply, which is just as terrifying.
Oh,
you know,
man.
so I think either one would work.
I kind of like
both.
I think that maybe like younger versions or something. I also really like the idea of having this like ancient being that is just so good about blending itself into its surroundings. Like, I imagine that it starts off with many secrets and therefore doesn't necessarily need to, like, you know, it's not melting away, but for like story purposes, it could be. I don't know. Is there any other like special, what are we naming this thing besides secret? Are we calling it the Secret Keeper?
I would just call it the Secret Keeper. Yeah. I think its name is so old it's lost to time.
Yes, and it's just ominous.
Yeah, the Secret Keeper.
And that's a secret that even it has forgotten.
Ooh, that's really poetic. I was more going to say, what's more terrifying than someone who has a secret of yours? That's all I need to know. Is like, hey Matt, that one has a real big secret. I'm like, oh my god, my god. Just dread and fear in my body just overtakes me.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that would be absolutely horrifying. Mm-hmm. But if it doesn't know its name, or maybe it does, but it's buried deep, that could be a quest line. Mm-hmm. You know, the party needs to find the Secret Keeper's name in order to, like a Rumpelstiltskin style thing.
Yes.
Only, you know, even more fucked up than Rumpelstiltskin is. What else can it do? So we've got one attack, and we've got a bunch of fucking cool lore.
Yeah, this is what ends up happening with stat. That was we always do like the lore behind it more than the stats. But we've got the one action. Do we have like a reaction that we want to give it?
Yeah, what's a good reaction?
I want to say I want to like a snatching thing, like as it because it's kind of like blobby. I think that as you're fighting this thing, it looks like, you know, whatever familiar thing it is, but then as it's trying to desperately grab you to take away your secret, it like, you know, like stretches out its arm, like has like a reach of 10 feet and then brings you forward, and you're like, oh, you're not Phil, you're something else.
That would be a cool reaction. Like, instead of an opportunity attack, it does a grapple from like 10 feet away or whatever, or even just an attack. It floomf and pulls you in, and then tries to, you know, steal your thoughts. I also think it'd be cool if it had if it takes enough damage or takes a big, it takes enough damage. If it takes a big enough hit and it projects a secret, maybe if it's stolen your secret already, it reveals your secret to you, or reveals some secret that affects you in some way.
I love that.
Which probably diminishes it a little bit, but deals a fuckload of damage to. So maybe it takes some more damage, but you don't get a save, and it just deals that's like splash damage almost.
Interesting. I like that.
Yeah, that's really cool.
That's really, really cool. And what other? Oh, and by the way, what I was imagining this thing looks like is salad fingers. Y'all know salad fingers?
I don't want the rusty kettle.
Yes, exactly. I imagine that, but I really enjoy this kind of like amorphous, like blobby thing. And then I feel like there's like a scene in a movie that does where it like, as it's trying to form itself back up, it's like grabbing bits of itself and kind of like shoving it back into place.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like it's starting to fall apart. Like it's taking too much damage. And it's projecting more and more secrets, so like a lot of it's starting to melt away, and you see it, it's desperately trying to get itself back together. It's trying to push and form itself again.
Yeah, and as it does, it starts like morphing into other people that it has taken form of, and just like flashes of those types of people, and you're like, you know what I mean? Almost like a fireworks of different parts and different personalities and forms that it's taken.
Yeah,
the more and more damage it takes.
I love that. And then because I feel like a lot of times when you're trying to describe damage to your players, it looks hurt. Yeah, it looks really hurt. Yeah, it looks on death's door, right? We can build in stages of these creatures that as it gets more and more hurt, you can have this word vomit of it starting to fall apart. You can see bits of this blob starting to form instead of skin, that sort of stuff.
And then it starts to look like the bug from the first Men in Black movie.
Yeah.
Wearing the skin suit.
Funny enough, that was one of the enemies my characters had to fight in our Spooktacular
Amazing.
episode. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, he's just really
great.
Yeah, he was a lot of fun to do. That's one of my favorite like voices to do.
Yeah.
And I went, well, what can I do? I can do that voice. All right, he's an enemy. He's an enemy in this episode.
Well, I think that's probably it for Stat That. But speaking of fighting and combat, was the fighting that dude in the Spooktacular the first combat, or was there other ones sprinkled into your episode?
There were others sprinkled in as well. He was the second. I had 3 encounters, and he was the second encounter.
Nice. Well, how was it running your first combat? Because I feel like for me, man, combat was the thing that made me the most nervous.
Yes, and me too.
Yeah.
Because the one thing I didn't want it to be was just like a slugfest,
yes,
you know,
exactly.
where you're just, the guy has 200 hit points, you're doing 8 a turn, and you're just sitting there turn after turn after turn, round after round.
All right, cool. Here's 8 damage. Yeah,
cool. Exactly. So I kind of wanted to get in and get out. I wanted them to hit harder and be able to be hit harder. So that's really what I focused on. I was like, okay, I want everybody to get like 2 or 3 turns so they can do some cool stuff. But if someone does like a coup de grace, some really cool ending to this enemy, I'm gonna take it and do that, because that's what
solid.
People want. Yeah, it's not like, oh, you hit him one more time with your rapier for 6 damage and that fells the enemy. Like, no, do something cool, like explode their head, or like swipe one of their legs off and they fall down a pit into lava. I mean, I don't know, anything along those lines. And so yes, it was horrifying, and I wasn't that good at it the first time, admittedly so, but that's okay. Again, just DMs, look at your characters or look at your players at the table. If it looks like they're having fun, you're good. If it looks like they're kind of like falling off, that's okay. Just speed the fight up, erase the 50 hit points it has left and put 3. You know what I mean? Like, it's cool. Fudge it. No one's gonna care, especially not the players if they're exactly. Unless you have like the worst poker face of all time, and every time you do it, you're like, like, are you fudging numbers again? Not me. Not I, your DM. Never. So just fudge it, and then have some really cool ending, or get them back and engaged again. And as soon as that happens, you're good, and then you're off. So that's what I try to focus on. Try to get in and out, quick hitters, have them have some fun, get on to the next thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. What about, I mean, Sean, you're the old, and so you've been DMing for a very long time. How was your first combat?
My first combat that I ran was all my first session running a game. This was way back in ye old time. So my first combat was run in 2nd edition AD&D, and we tried for the first and possibly only time to actually follow the AD&D combat rules by the book. So it was a hot mess. No one had fun. It was awful. And so, yeah, it was an incredible nightmare. And the thing that I learned from that was the rules are there to add structure to the game, but if they are getting in the way, fuck them. It is a game that we're here to have fun, and Thaco, until you spend a lot of time with it, doesn't make any goddamn sense. It isn't as difficult to understand as it looks like, but you do have to take the time to read through it. And so we the next time basically threw out most of the combat rules for AD&D, which if you talk to a lot of us olds who played AD&D, I think you'll find that most of us threw out those rules and played with a sort of abridged version. So yeah, the first combat that I ran, it was a slog fest. It was a lot of us sitting there looking at the rule book, trying to figure out what the hell we were supposed to be doing. And if you have to pull out the rule book during combat and just sit there with it, then you need to reassess how you're going about this combat, because like those fast hits that you were talking about, Matt, that's what you want, because combat should feel exciting.
I mean, like one round is 6 seconds. You know, like you need to keep it going.
So yeah, look at your players, have an idea of what your monsters can do, but then just make sure everyone's engaged. And I think you made a really important point, Matt, which is that if you look around and your table doesn't seem engaged, that's okay. It doesn't mean you failed. It just means you need to bring everything back. You need to make some adjustment, and you can do it on the fly. Mm-hmm. Making adjustments on the fly is awesome.
Welcome.
But it does not make you a failure as a DM or anything like that. It just means that you've fallen off a little bit and you need to bring everybody back. And that's not something to be afraid of. I say, knowing full well that I panic about that.
Oh yeah, it's still a very natural feeling to have. But I mean, like, eventually it'll just be like, for your first combat, it'll maybe be your second combat, then it'll be your third, and then eventually it'll be a walk in the park. Oh, you know what? Why don't we smell-o-vision that?
That was genius. That was the one.
I'm upset that was so good.
That's pretty good, right?
That was so good.
Oh man! Smell-o-vision, 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 smell-o-vision. Okay, so smell-o-vision. This is where we're gonna list off some things that what we think a walk in the park means to us, and then Sean is gonna paint us a smell picture.
Ooh, okay.
So, I'll go first. What does a walk in the park mean to me? What do I think that first and foremost, like fresh cut grass for sure. Mm-hmm. I also think that just a bunch of nature. So like fresh cut grass, some like trees, smells of trees.
Okay, so far so good.
And then probably some dog shit.
Yes, probably.
And then probably. I think that I also want some barbecue in there somewhere.
Ooh,
like somebody's family is having like a barbecue. I think that's me. What about you, Matt?
All right, I'm gonna throw you a couple. Okay, so yes, I think you touched on the trees and everything. I'm thinking, I like to take a lot of walks in state parks. So there's probably gonna be some like, a dead squirrel or something thrown in there. It's just been sitting there for a while. There's a lot of runners who've been running like 5 or 6 miles who are gonna run past me. One of them's next to a street, so you're gonna hear some cars, a little smell of petrol or something like that. But yeah, just and some trees and grass and stuff. That's all good, and some flowers and all that fun stuff.
Okay, all right, I'm ready, Sean.
Okay. You're walking through the park. The green grass smells of fresh spring air. That damp earth sort of hits your nose as you're walking by, and something sweet comes to your nostrils. It's the sort of mapley smell followed by hickory smoke and charcoal, and you realize that family over there is having a barbecue, and you smell and you're like, wow, that meat, it smells really, really sweet to me. There's something really, and you look down and there's a dead squirrel at your foot, and mixed in with the scent of delicious barbecue is this smell of sickeningly sweet, rotting flesh. So you sort of lose your appetite for the day and keep sort of walking on. But only a few steps later, you're hit with this other sweet smell that hits the back of your throat, and it's like getting kicked in the face as this runner goes by, and it's just it's a hot day. The sun is burning down. You see them go back and they are just glistening. If you had been watching them from, 100 feet away, you would have probably been like, wow, that is an attractive looking person. But as they go by, you smell every drop of that glisten on them. That's not that's not oil. That's just dank sweat. Did this person
barf.
shower before they run, or did they decide, I'm gonna have to shower after the run anyway? Why take 2 showers? And it just, you gag a little, and as you gag, you step forward and your foot lands right there in a pile of dog shit. That shit smell runs up, and you're scraping your foot on the grass, and you're just fucked for the rest of the day. This has just been horrible. But then you see some trees, and they're so pretty. You see a little pond, and you smell some of that sort of pond water, but it's not gross and stagnant. It's kind of nice. You hear the quacking of the ducks. You hear a nasty asshole hissing goose, because fuck all geese. And then you sort of lean up against a tree and you take a deep breath. The bark smells warm. Everything feels calmer. You've gotten this all out of the way. The flowers hit you, some nice lavender, and you put your hand on this tree, you rest your head against it, and you're ready to get on with the rest of your day. You go to move and you're stuck. And you look down at your hand, and this gnarled tree root has wrapped around it and begins pulling you in as you look and see the face of this dryad come slowly out of the tree and start to reach its other hand toward you. Roll for initiative.
Oh,
I didn't tell you because I wanted it to be a surprise. Yeah. Sean tends to roll in some initiative into all of their smell-o-vision.
I love that. I was not expecting
they're
that.
good,
That was
right?
just fantastic.
It's a good shit.
Did I get everything? What did I miss?
No, I think
feel
you
like
got it
I
all.
missed
You got
something.
flowers, you got grass, you got trees, you got dog shit, you got the runner, which was I wanted to barf. You also got the dead squirrel.
Yeah.
I think you got it all.
And I love that it was dank sweat, by the way. That's what got me.
But you,
That's not oil. It's dank sweat. Yes. Yes.
but like the whole, I fucking love smell of vinegar. But you're like, you feel like you're there. Like I definitely wanted to
Yeah.
barf.
I did.
I did. I was there.
I turned my sound off. I was hurling over here.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Let's wrap this up with some advice. We've already given some amazing gems here today, but what are some things specifically that first GMs should avoid, Matt?
Anything you're not good at, and I know that sounds very blanket, but let me explain. Right? Really take the time to find what you are good at and use that as your strength for running your campaign. As I sort of alluded to earlier, the rules are not my strength. My strength is I'm pretty quick on my feet, pretty decent at improv, and I can do a lot of silly voices. So that's what I did for my DM one shot. Like I just made these characters that I felt comfortable being. And I just kind of went from there, and I just improv most of it because I don't know the rules. So I can't set up these really mechanics heavy interactions or mechanics heavy battles. That's not my strength, which is totally okay.
Yeah.
There are some DMs that are like that. I play, which I'll talk about in a minute, but I play with a DM who is that way. He is very rules heavy. He knows every rule, every mechanic, and he runs his games that way. But because he's confident in that, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Because that's what he leans on.
I love that.
And so for a first-time DM, find what you're good at, one or two things, make those the pillars of your one-shot or your campaign or whatever. Focus on that in the beginning, and as you go on with it, you will start to sharpen those other skills that you don't feel as confident with.
Yes.
And that is to say, so then use those skills. Don't just shy away from them all the time. You do have to exercise. It's like a muscle. You got to exercise them to grow them stronger and to be more comfortable with them. So while you're leaning on your strengths, throw your weaknesses out there every once in a while. And get feedback from your players and have that conversation with them, because I think taking the temperature of the table is super important. You know, you can tell them beforehand.
Temperature of
hey,
the
everyone,
table. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Let that wash over me. I love that.
But I mean, you know, because you can tell your players, hey guys, I'm not really good at the mechanic stuff. So if I beef anything, we could talk about it afterwards. Or while you're playing, say, you know, raise your hand and say, this is getting a little draggy, and try to have a safe space in a sense to where you can have that communication. Because if you do and you don't take it personal, you know, go, oh, he said it was draggy. Oh, I'm the worst DM of all time. And you don't spiral, but you use that as constructive criticism, you will get better at it.
I love that.
The person who DMs our normal podcast, he's never DM'd before. And in the beginning, it was a little bit rough, but it was for everybody, because it was a lot of our first times playing. But as we've gone on, the growth of him, like just him specifically, has been exponential. I mean, it's a completely different person now than he was back then, and that just comes through repetition, and just confidence with yourself, and confidence with the people that you're playing with, and the confidence in the game that you're running.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think to build on that, for me, I think that besides getting advice or getting like the temperature of the table, which I'm going to use now.
Perfect.
But also the reason why we kind of made this podcast was that Sean and I just talk so much about TTRPGs, and often I would bug them for advice on what I was building. So if you're having trouble with like building an encounter or building like a role-playing scenario where you wanna emphasize an NPC that you think is really cool, or like trying to build on your story that you're trying to do, talk with a fellow DM. Send them a message. Be like, hey, I wrote out this thing. Can you read it real quick and let me know what makes sense to you, what doesn't? Is there something I should add? And that really helped, one, build my confidence, because a lot of times Sean would like tweak a couple things, but then they would say, man, this is cool. Can I like steal this? And that really made me feel good. And a lot of times what you're doing is great. Like we've already built is amazing. And you just need that one extra, yeah, that's cool, to like really seal the deal. At least for me, I need somebody else to be like, to read it and be like, fuck, that's cool. I want to play that. Like that builds my confidence. But at the same time, I've gotten a lot of advice from Sean and other GMs that I have asked advice for, and that's really built who I am as a GM today, because I based all of my skills off of the people that I love. So yeah, that's what would be my advice. What about you, Sean?
I would say that my number one thing to avoid as a first time GM is being afraid to steal things. I know I talk about stealing things a lot, but don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of your own ideas. Like Cam said, your ideas are good. Trust me. But if you really want to run a game and you don't have an idea on what to do it, I've always wanted to be a DM. But I want to run this session, but I don't have any idea. Watch a movie.
Oh, yeah.
And then run that movie. That movie right there, that's a 2-hour ish story, contained story told. Just run that movie, and that's okay. It's okay to take things like that and just do that. Or, you know, a book you read that you really liked this one chapter of, run that. It's totally fine to take inspiration from elsewhere while remembering that your ideas are cool. Trust me, they're cool ideas. And if you sit down with your players and you work to tell this story together, everybody's going to have fun. And it doesn't really matter what the story is. You know, at the end of the day, that's not what's important. What's important is that you all came together and you played this game and you had fun.
Exactly. That's so cute.
Don't be afraid of any of that.
That was really cute, Sean.
Oh, thanks. And then just steal a bunch of shit from everywhere, because that's what I do.
Yeah.
And I also, both of your points are really great, but don't do things you're not good at. I would never run a puzzle in my first session. Maybe you out there in podcast land are just really good at puzzles. Boy, am I not. So, but yeah.
Yeah. And why don't we see what the fuck the internet wants? What the? What the fuck does the internet want? So this was a short and sweet one that I found, but I think it's super relevant because I remember having these same feelings. But the title is "Just DM for the first time and I'm exhausted. ... Normal? ? And the just reads, "I had a ton of fun and I want to do it again, but I'm totally burnt out afterwards. Is this just me being an introvert after expending a bunch of energy?" And I mean, like, this thing got like 462 comments. Like, for me, it depends on the session, but there are times even way after when I've DM'd a ton of games. But depending on the session and what I had to do, there are times when I'm like exhilarated and like want to do more. And there are times when I'm like, I just want to sit on the couch and not speak. I think it's completely normal to be exhausted after DMing a game.
Yeah, I think so too. I think I akin DMing, GMing, whichever one you want to use, as performance. Yeah. And any performer of any kind, performs and creating. Anytime you perform or create something that you are really putting your all into, having that being taken out of you is exhausting.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a musician as well. And after we'd play a show, the shows are 30 to 45 minutes. I was spent because you just pull so much from inside of you. I mean, that emotional exhaustion is so much more than physical exhaustion, which is why you might not think you would be exhausted after DMing
while you're just
session,
sitting down.
Yes, but it's so mental and emotional that can be more taxing than physical can, at least to me. And so even the few that I do every so often, man, after those sessions, I'm like you. I want to go sit in the couch. I want to sit alone in my room, turn on reruns of The Office or whatever, and just hunker down on my bed and just sit there watching it because I'm done. I'm done. I'm tired. I just want to curl up into a little ball and relax.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Sean?
I'm almost always exhausted.
Like, period, end of sentence.
And full stop. Every day of my life. No, it does. It is performing, and it takes so much out of me. Sometimes I'm really lucky and my players do something really, really cool that's really exciting. And then I honestly, when that happens, I try to be able to end the session there. So it sucks when it happens in the first 5 minutes. But if it happens at the end, I'm like, we're going to end the session there because then I can take that high from whatever cool ass thing my players just did to go plan my next session. But most of the time, and it's fun. I love it. But yeah, it takes so much out of me, and then half the time I have to go run another game right after, and I'm like, really? I sleep now.
Man.
But I sleep. So yeah, I think it's totally normal, and I also think that walking out of there exhausted just shows that you put a lot of effort into it, and there's a difference between exhausted and beaten down by it. Like the first time, my first DMing session, I walked out of that just broken because it was such a mess.
Aww.
I mean, I was like 12 years old or whatever in the before times of the middle of last century.
You keep saying like you played D&D with stone tablets or something
we
like
did,
that.
absolutely. No, it was the early 90s.
So stone tablets, got it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Stone tablets. We chiseled our character stats, and with them, it really sucked as a DM because it was great when they finally came up with wax tablets because then I could just heat my.
Yeah, I was going to say it used to be papyrus.
Right.
That was a very delicate process. Stone was tough, but then wax definitely makes it easy. And the printing press was invented, and everyone was off to the races.
It was great. Yeah,
chaotic good human. Stop it.
But no, it was. That was a very different experience. Whereas most of the time now, I walk away feeling tired but good about it, and that's because it was a lot of work, put a lot of effort into it, and I did a thing, and that's why you feel tired at the end of it, is because you did a thing.
Good.
Yeah,
you did good.
Awesome. Sean, why don't you wrap us up?
Oh, sure, I can wrap us up. What did we talk about today? Well, we started out talking about our first sessions as DMs and got a lot of really great advice from our new friend Matt about the first time running a session. We talked about our first combat and how that can be scary and ways that you can on the fly adjust your first combat to make sure that you are still keeping things moving and that your players are still having fun. And we talked about checking in with the temperature of the table, which I am also stealing, and just making, and if it's starting to feel a little cold, it's okay. You just need to bring everything back, and that is not a bad thing. We talked about getting exhausted running games, and we talked about some just basic first time advice for getting set up to do your first game. And then we created a cool character, and we smelled some sweaty runners and dog shit.
What a dream! What a dream
fucking
day,
dream.
huh?
Right? We're living it, gang. We're living it.
That's what we talked about this time. Matt, where can people find you, follow you?
Yes.
Anything you want to plug?
I do. So again, I want to plug the podcast that I'm a part of. It is a D&D 5e live play podcast. It's called New Crits on the Block. You can find us on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, pretty much wherever you can find podcasts. That's where we are. And another thing I forgot to mention was I play on Monday nights on Twitch.
Oh, that's awesome.
For
I didn't know that.
For a D&D stream called How Reroll. And we're on at Mondays at we started around 5:30 5:30 Pacific times usually when we get rolling. And you can follow me on Twitter at MaddieSweetTweet.
Awesome.
Amazing.
If you want to join in and say hello, I'd love to see some new people on there, new faces, and new friends to talk about D&D with.
Yeah, definitely check out New Crits on the Block. It's a very fun time, and I look forward to finding you on Twitch now. That'll be a blast.
Same.
Yeah, you can find us at the Arcanery on all of the socials, or you can find us at thearcanery.com, and you can find us on Patreon. Come check out our Patreon, where we're also releasing another podcast that's just our lore sessions over and over and over again. So if you want to deep dive into the same type of crazy shit we come up with during StatDat, come check out our Patreon. And that's where you can find us.
Yeah.
Take it away, Cam.
I think it for this episode of A Game Master's Toolbox. If you found this helpful, please leave us a rating on Apple Podcast, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcast listening on. Also, check out our website at thearcanery.com, where you can pick up a free 25 NPC PDF. And if you leave us a review, you may be turned into an NPC for our future content creations. We're also on YouTube, where you can listen to us at the Arcanery. Thanks so much for listening. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.